So, what do you want to talk about, man? I want to talk about tonight's episode of Smackdown, which actually I respect you. I love you. This episode of Smackdown has earned my respect because it was great. Yes, you heard it here first, man. I know I never say that Raw or Smackdown is good, but I have to be honest when I have to be honest. This episode was very, very good, man. It had meaningful segments, it had story development, it had solid other backstage segments, it had solid matches, and it also had the appearance of a couple characters and wrestlers that I actually really like. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but they actually made Cody Rhodes' championship reign more interesting tonight. It's finally not some boring mess. Now, obviously, I don't know if the execution is going to be good. We'll get to that later in the review. However, they made his reign more interesting, and I respect that. So that was pretty good. And honestly, overall, this is probably the most that's happened in a single SmackDown episode, and probably like since the build-up to Mania, those SmackDowns with Rock and Roman and Cody and Rollins and all that other stuff, right? So I respect this episode, and it's definitely was a very good time. Now, it starts off with Jimmy Uso's return. He got a great pop from the crowd. It was a massive pop. He comes out pretty much, and he basically, does a welcome back promo. The crowd's like, welcome back. Ooh, so, you know what I'm saying? All that stuff. No yeet, you know what I mean? Which we'll get to no yeet in a second because Roman Reigns was talking about that. But yeah, this is a cool opening. It's great to see Jimmy back. It feels like a return to formula with the Bloodline starting off the show. You know what I'm saying? The real Bloodline with Jimmy and Roman and, the others, right? And by I mean the others, Jay and Sammy will likely be coming in soon. We're also going to talk about that later. But Jimmy basically cuts a promo saying, I'm back. Solo attacked me from behind. He's a coward and he's not the real tribal chief. And I'm going to whoop Solo's butt. And as he's about to end up saying that, Roman Reigns, the OTC, pops up. And I just have to say, man, straight up, dude, Roman Reigns' presence is unmatched by anyone on this roster. Literally nobody. Besides The Rock when he comes back. Obviously, The Rock's aura and his presence is on a different level. But Roman Reigns, bro, the presence this dude has when he comes out is absurd. The crowd loses it. The OTC chants are blasting. The pyro, the ones to the sky. I mean, without the title, this dude is still obviously the top draw and the clear number one and the leader of this company. It's very evident. It's obvious. So he basically comes out, has an entrance, and, he comes down to the ring, and he actually doesn't do the, so-and-so town, acknowledge me. He doesn't do that tonight. He actually has the town acknowledge Jimmy, right? Because Jimmy's been gone for a while, and he came to help Roman when Roman needed him most. So that was that. It was a nice little funny moment, the way they played it off, too. Because after he says acknowledge Jimmy, Jimmy puts his hand out to get the mic, and Roman just, gives him a high five and then laughs after. It was a really funny thing, man. Jimmy Uso's comedy and his hilariousness that he brings to this really brings out the levity in this group, so that was great. Next thing that happened, Roman Reigns basically cuts a promo basically saying the Bloodline used to be the top thing in the company, right? They used to be the peak. Everyone used to respect the Bloodline. They were scared of the Bloodline. They had all the belts. They had all the money. They had all the power in the company. They were on top of everything. They dominated. And, Roman Reigns was basically cutting an intense promo, and he was saying words in a way that he always does, and he makes it mean something. There's few stars all time, or not few, right? Because there's obviously the top superstars all time in WWE, that when they say something, it means something. Every single time. There's a special cadence to it. There's a special intensity that Roman brings to this. And he basically says at the end of it, we have to remind people that we are the ones. When we come through these hallways, when we step in these arenas, we cause fear in people. You know what I'm saying? We're going to take back what's ours. It was a pretty empowering promo. But then Jimmy drops a good line. He's like, we don't have that respect anymore. And the only one in our bloodline that acknowledges you is actually me. Because Jimmy Uso says, we need help. We keep getting beat up. We don't have the Ulafata. We don't have the tag belts. We don't have the WWE title. And we need help. And then the crowd starts chanting yeet, obviously. You know what I'm saying? Because everyone wants to see Jey Uso come in and help. And then Roman Reigns says, no yeet. And then Jimmy's like, well, Uso, we're going to have to fight this out as us two, tonight, because the only one that respects you, like I said, is myself. And then he walks out, and that's the end of that segment. This was a great way to open the show, and it finally felt like we were skipping through the filler and the garbage that we usually get to start the show with Mr. I respect you. Boom, boom. Wrestling has more than one royal family. Wheatley, so good I drink it neatly. You know what I'm saying? All those boring garbage promos with him, we skip it. However, we're going to get back to Cody in a second because Cody Rhodes has a backstage segment with Jimmy Uso. And basically the moral of this promo segment and this backstage segment is actually the fact that Jimmy Uso respects Cody Rhodes. He loves Cody Rhodes. Like, that's literally what it is. Jimmy taps on the belt. He's like, you're doing a good job too, Uso. You keep it up, man. You're welcome for the help at Bad Blood. And Cody, like, gives a smile, and that's the end of that segment. And then we get LA Knight versus Carmelo Hayes. Now, LA Knight versus Carmelo Hayes was actually a very, very good match. The only problem with this match was the fact that they had the little commercial split screen, which I'm sick of them doing, man. It takes away like 5 minutes of the match when it's in split screen, so they think they can get away with showing you more ads if they just give you a little split screen on the side so you can still see what's happening, but you're still getting bored to death with ads. It's very annoying, but the actual in-ring work rate here was good. LA Knight has a really, his moveset I feel like is expanding each week, and the fact that he's doing all of these title defenses this early on in his reign is great to see, man. Logan Paul only defended it twice, but I think LA Knight has like 4 or 5 title defenses, which is very good, and he's a fighting champion, and when he's not fighting, he's cutting great promos. He is what you want your mid-card champion or your champion in general to be, and he's doing a great job. The match ending was also very good because there was no botches, despite the fact they were doing a bunch of fast counters, fast reversals, fast, pins and kickouts, little roll-ups and stuff, and then LA Knight hits Carmelo with a BFT, and it was a very, very great sold BFT by Carmelo Hayes, so that was nice, and pretty much this match ends, LA Knight hits him with the BFT, match is over. And after this match is done, Carmelo Hayes is confronted ringside after he lost, and Andrade basically tells him, put the fries in the bag, bro. He tells him the same thing that Melo told him a few weeks ago, man, so that was really funny. I popped for that. That was really hilarious, honestly, dude. That was great. That was a nice little moment, and we are going to get Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade Game 7, I think next week or the week after on Smackdown, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Then we get the introduction of, what's this girl's name, man? I keep forgetting. Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, and they're going to be this new tag team that I guess just a cameoed for tonight on a one-time appearance to fight Bianca and Jade for the women's tag belts. This is great. Now, obviously, this was interrupted by KO, but before we get to that quickly, I do want to say Bianca and Jade right now, they are feeling in a little bit of a purgatory period, like a boring period, a repetitive period, kind of. However, this is good because they're showcasing different women on NXT's talent, like they did the other night with Kalani Jordan and, the Fatal Influence or the Fatal Attraction, whatever they're, I think Fatal Attraction's a TV show. I don't know what I'm talking about, right? But Bianca and Jade being able to elevate different women and give them a voice, and kind of give them a chance to shine on television is very, very good. This is good. If they're not going to do anything meaningful, they should at least be doing stuff like this, so that's nice. And the match was actually pretty solid. But Kevin Owens interrupts the introduction of Lash and Jakara and basically says, you guys are insane if you think that my turn on Cody Rhodes was unjustified. He deserved to be turned on because he actually turned his back on me first. And then after this, you get Cody Rhodes comes out to the ring and he looks like he's about to fight, but then Randy Orton has to come back and hold Cody Rhodes back, from going down and fighting KO. And then Randy goes in the ring to try and hold KO back from acting out of control. And pretty much what happens here is that Randy Orton gets elbowed in the head by Kevin Owens because Kevin Owens doesn't see who's behind him. He just thinks it's some random person holding him back, I guess. But then he realizes it's Randy, elbows him by accident, I guess, before he realized, and then Randy punches KO in the face. After this happens, KO looks shocked, and then later on in the night, we're going to get to how that continues, right? But the moral of the story is that Randy Orton is now involved in this little three-way feud situation going on with him, KO, and Cody Rhodes with the WWE Championship. This, by proxy, makes Cody Rhodes more interesting because now you have multiple people gunning for the title. You don't know whether Orton's going to turn heel or not. Obviously, he's going to turn heel eventually, and it's going to be sick, man. The 2009 Bald Orton coming back in 2024 or 2025 to try and fight for the WWE title against Cody Rhodes, bro. The story threads, the stuff with Legacy from back in the day, all of that playing a role in this feud is going to be sick. But Kevin Owens currently being heel right now, him turning his back on Cody, Randy might turn his back on Cody. This is getting interesting, and it's making Cody a more interesting champion because even though Roman is obviously the top attraction of SmackDown with him and the Bloodline, at least we're getting something happening with the WWE belt that could be intriguing down the line. So that was pretty cool. Then after this, we had Bianca and Jade versus Lash and Jakara. Like I said, Bianca and Jade won this match, and Lash and Jakara did a decent job. They had good chemistry, good synergy. They had a couple good team-up moves together. Lash Legend is huge, by the way. She's noticeably bigger than Jade Cargill, which is very rare. I don't think there's anyone else on the roster who's bigger than Jade except for her. So I honestly could see them using NXT talent and stuff like that to bring them up to the main roster and see what they can do because, I mean, why not? Worst case scenario, you just send them back to NXT, and if they do a good job, you keep them on the roster and just have them do their job. All these people are going to be doing, for the most part anyways, is Chelsea Green-like stuff in the women's division anyways, right, when they're first coming in. You're just going to be doing some backstage segments and wrestling wrestling maybe once or twice a month. If you can't do that, you shouldn't even be trying to be a wrestler in the first place. Then we get Nia Jax, who you question whether she should be trying to be a wrestler in the first place, because she cuts an awful promo. This is probably the worst part of the night, most likely. She says absolutely nothing in this promo. Naomi comes out and actually does say something for once. She basically says that Nia can't win without Tiffany Stratton, which is true, and it's later proved after Naomi beats her in their match. And Naomi basically says that, and then Nia says, "I don't like your face." And I'm like, what are you talking about? This episode, when this happened, I was like, dude, how can it be this good and then get to being this bad? It makes no sense. But Nia's like, yeah, I don't like your face. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to beat you up in this match, and I don't need any help to beat you. And then Nia Jax proceeds to lose. But before this match starts, we get a cameo from Liv Morgan. And Rhea Ripley shows up later, but we'll get to that in a second. Liv Morgan shows up with Dirty Dom and Raquel Rodriguez and basically says something on the lines of like, what did she say? She's like, yeah, well, you know, we have a match at Crown Jewel, and you think you can beat me? That's hilarious. You know, the corny stuff, the corny laugh. Like, dude, I actually did a pretty good impression of that, if I don't say so myself. Give myself a pat on the back for that one, you know what I'm saying? But, yeah, he basically says that. She watches by ringside with Dom and Raquel, and Nia Jax loses this match. I'm tired of Nia Jax losing because every single time she's supposed to be built up as this annihilator, she keeps needing Tiffany or someone else to help her win. Just like Liv Morgan always needs the Judgment Day to help her win. You have two women's champions who are booked like wimps and jobbers who always need help. But after this match is done, Liv Morgan gets like running away down the ramp, and Rhea Ripley comes out of nowhere, which was a great cameo to see. And she basically beats up Raquel and then goes to attack Liv for a little bit, and then Dominic distracts her, and then Liv is able to escape. But the point is here is this. Rhea Ripley showing up, number one, is great. I'm not a big Rhea Ripley fan, but the fact that other top stars from Raw are bridging over to SmackDown for occasional cameos, this needs to be a new normal. This just does. You don't have a stacked roster like you used to the point where you can actually hold on to the brand split and keep your respective talent on their respective shows. Your roster's not that deep anymore, so every now and then, you are going to need other superstars to cross over from brands to brands. Just like Cody went over to Raw, even though Cody's a jobber pretty much, him and Gunther being there at least provides a reason to watch a segment in Raw. You get what I'm saying? Just like Rhea Ripley, I mean, obviously, when Roman Reigns and Randy Orton and, the likes of the Bloodline and all that stuff is on SmackDown, you're going to watch it anyway. SmackDown's just a way better show than Raw. But when you add in Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan and your other top woman stars and just top people in general, it makes it more interesting. You got LA Knight, Rhea Ripley, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, all these people showing up. This is good. And this doesn't need to be something that happens every week, but I'd say at least once or twice a month, there should be a situation like this where a superstar is showing up on another show. I mean, these people barely wrestle anyway. I mean, when Rhea Ripley's the last time she's wrestled on television and Raw, it's like 9 months ago. So she should be showing up on both shows. I mean, she's not doing anything in the ring, so what's the problem? You get what I'm saying? But yes, this was good. It was good to see Rhea, and it's kind of interesting seeing the dynamic of two champions. Tiffany's got the Money in the Bank. Rhea's, fighting Nia for a second, then she's fighting Liv. Like, all of them included together in a storyline. It's engaging, and it was booked pretty well. Now, after this, we get the segment that I talked about earlier, mentioned slightly, which between Orton and KO outside. Pretty much after the Street Profits and DIY are done yelling at each other for 15 seconds, or probably like 2 minutes, honestly, to be honest. Like, it was really stupid. I don't understand why, Street Profits have been relegated to this. DIY, again, they're gaining my respect because that ladder match last week was great. And DIY have always been solid in-ring workers. Like, we already know that. It's just the fact that the storytelling, the promo work, and the draw of them is not there. However, them just being reduced out of backstage segments is embarrassing. Montez Ford has more talent in his left pinky than 90% of the roster does, and the fact that he's just doing backstage segments with Dawkins is absurd. But anyways, they get through that backstage segment and something about Santos Escobar asking for his tag team to be in the show. I'm like, dude, Santos hasn't been seen in weeks, and he's growing a beard that's going to be as bushy as Daniel Bryan's one day, so that's that. And then pretty much we get Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. Randy Orton gets beat up outside of Cody Rhodes' bus, or outside of somewhere outside. Kevin Owens attacks him and assaults him, beats him up, and then he tells Randy Orton, you need to pick a side. Now, obviously, Randy Orton is eventually going to turn heel, but I do think that Randy, for at least the next couple weeks, will probably still be on Cody Rhodes' team, and he'll be fighting back against Kevin Owens. But those voices are going to get through that head, and we're going to get that bald Randy Orton, and he's going to be fighting back. You know what I'm saying? This is very obvious, and we know it's coming. It's just a matter of time. And the fact that they're doing this and that we know it's in the distance, I just want them to speed this up, right? I don't need this taking 3 or 4 months. Randy should realistically be a heel before Survivor Series starts. That way you can have Cody versus Orton at Survivor Series for the WWE title. It's a big name PLE. It will probably be a big show, and you can have them do a match like a no holds barred or just a normal match for the title, and it would be intense, and you would have weeks to build up to that match. Do not mess this up, Hunter. If you do, it will be disappointing. Then we get to the main event, Solo Sikoa versus Jimmy Uso. And this match, honestly, was average in the ring. I'll be honest, right? It's average. But at the end of the day, we're not asking for much. It's Jimmy Uso who hasn't wrestled in like 6 months, and then Solo Sikoa who, is just an average or slightly above average in-ring wrestler, right? We already know this. But the point is of this match is that Jimmy and Solo basically do, how do I even describe what happened here? Solo basically, would distract the ref every now and then Tama Tonga or Jacob Fatu would just come in and hit Jimmy and weaken him up, soften him up. And then by the end of it, Jimmy's about to go for a splash. He distracts him again, and then Jimmy gets hit off the top rope by Fatu, I think. And then Solo basically brings him down, spikes him, 1, 2, 3, done. So Solo ends up winning this match versus Jimmy Uso versus Big Bro. You know what I'm saying? After this happens, Jimmy Uso gets a crap beat out of him for like 10 seconds by Tama Tonga, Tonga. You know what I'm saying? And Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. Roman Reigns interrupts and he comes down to the ring and he's looking for a fight. He's trying to defend his cousin, his bloodline. With Jimmy out there getting beat up, he's gonna help out Jimmy. And basically, Roman Reigns ends up getting beat up as well. Now on his way to the ring, he beats the crap out of Jacob Fatu. Not really, actually. He just hit a Superman punch on Fatu, then hits a Superman punch on Tonga, and a Superman punch on Tama Tonga, and then him and Solo brawl for a second. But as usual, these Tongans, man, they no-sell everything pretty much, especially Jacob Fatu. So Jacob Fatu gets up, comes back in the ring, and basically he helps Solo double team Roman, and then Tonga and Tongaloa and Tama Tonga, the Tongas, come in the ring and help to do a 4v1 on Roman. Jimmy gets up for a second, but then gets sat down because there's 4 of them and 1 of him. So they basically have a situation where all 4 of them are standing tall over Roman and Jimmy. They spike Roman in the throat, and that's pretty much that. This is expected. They do it really meticulously. I have to give Triple H his credit. He always lets Roman Reigns beat up the individual Bloodline members, like when it's a one-on-one situation, to still keep Roman looking strong like he should be. He shouldn't be getting beat up by jobbers like Tongalo and Tama Tonga, you know what I mean? But after he does this, whenever they're all like standing together, like it's a 3 or 4-on-1, like directly, Roman Reigns can never contend with those 4 just 1-on-4. And that makes sense. You're booking the new Bloodline to look strong, but you're also making Roman look strong because when it is an even fight, he can beat each one of them individually. So that's a good way to do it. But yes, the moral of the story, Jimmy Uso and Roman Reigns are obviously going to need help to beat against this new Bloodline. Now, the moment when this actually happens, when we do get this new Bloodline, who knows when it's going to happen? Like, seriously. We don't know when it's going to happen, but we know it's going to happen soon within the next month. The problem is this. Triple H cannot prolong this. Within the next 4 weeks, by the time Crown Jewel happens or a little bit after that, we should have the reunion of at least Jimmy, Jay, and Roman, and maybe Sami Zayn as well. That is how you make a compelling and a good moment at the show, and you also can make a compelling and good moment for the Bloodline, the OG Bloodline, to reunite one last time to fight against the new Bloodline at Survivor Series War Games. Now, if The Rock were to get involved, I don't know who the 5th member for Roman's team would be, to be honest with you. I'm assuming it would just be Cody. They'd probably drag him back in, but I do genuinely think this is going to be a 4v4, and The Rock will show up at the end and face off with Roman Reigns. I think that's what's going to happen here, and if it does, it would be sick. Everything that's happening with the Bloodline right now is working for me. I like it. It's interesting, it's engaging, and you are actually genuinely entertained and engaged in what's going to happen next. Like, I'm excited to tune in next week to see how Roman and Jimmy are going to continue to bring together this group of people, the group of the OG Bloodline, to fight against the new Bloodline. That's what I'm excited for, and that's what I'm really looking forward to. And in this whole entire show as a whole, I think that's what made this episode great. They did a great job of making you excited for what was going to happen next week. You're excited because you saw good promos, you saw good segments, you saw solid matches, you saw the introduction of a couple new characters with Lash Legend and Jakara, LA Knight versus Carmelo was fun, Bianca and Jade are helping to elevate the women's tag team division a bit, Tiffany Stratton, Rhea Ripley, Nia Jackson, Liv Morgan all being on the same show is pretty engaging. That's pretty cool, it's a fun moment, right? And Naomi actually wrestled a decent match, one of her few decent massive matches since she's come back to WWE, so that was pretty cool as well. Overall, I had a great time with this episode. It was fun. It was entertaining. Meaningful story threads happened. Cody Rhodes is finally more interesting now as champion, probably than he's ever been for the most part, besides this build up to Bad Blood to fight for the title, or to fight with Roman against a new Bloodline. Other than that, he hasn't really been interesting, but this moment tonight made his title reign interesting, and the people surrounding it, like Randy and KO, Interesting. So I liked this episode. I honestly thought it was great from top to bottom. Outside of Nia Jax's awful promo, nothing really bothered me tonight. This was very good from start to finish. I would honestly give this episode probably an 8.5 or maybe even a 9. There's not really much else you could have done here. I mean, it's a 2-hour show, and they booked it much better than Raw. Meaningful things happened, and I was entertained. And that's all I ask. I don't ask for a masterpiece every single week, but it needs to at least be good, and this happened to be above good. It was great, and one of the best Smackdowns of the year. Easily. So yes, let me know what you thought about this episode of SmackDown. And as usual, hope you guys enjoyed and have a phenomenal day. Peace out.